Christians believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and the Savior. But what did the early critics say? Can we learn anything about Jesus from these early critics? Jesus, according to the early critics. Welcome to Into the Desert, exploring the wilderness of ideas. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons and become a fellow adventurer by supporting our channel's mission of encouraging discussion, not division, on Patreon. The link is in the description. The Jewish historian Josephus has the earliest references to Jesus by a non-Christian writer. In his book, Antiquities of the Jews, which he finished in the year AD 93 or 94, Josephus refers to Jesus twice. The first reference is also one of the most disputed passages concerning Jesus, for it seems to have been altered at some time by Christians. Many scholars have pointed out that for Josephus to have written such an account, he would have been a Christian. An Orthodox Jew would not have written things like, "If it be lawful to call him a man," and "He was the Christ." Since there is no indication that Josephus was a Christian, it would seem clear that someone altered the passage. The real question is, did Josephus write any of it, or is the entire passage a forgery? Research on a recently discovered Arabic manuscript of Josephus supports the notion that he is responsible for most of the passage. Shlomo Pines, a professor at Hebrew University in Jerusalem, found that the Arabic version did not contain the questionable phrases. In this version, Josephus does not say that Jesus is the Christ, but only that perhaps he was. He does not say Christ had risen from the dead, only that his disciples reported that they had seen Jesus. There is nothing in this passage that Josephus could not have written. The only other passage in which Josephus mentions Jesus refers to him as simply the brother of James. This passage does not call Jesus the Christ. In fact, the way Josephus refers to Jesus as the so-called Christ is derogatory. Thus, just as most scholars believe a Jew would not have written the first passage, they do not believe a Christian could have written this passage. Therefore, scholars accept the second passage as authentic. The second passage mentions Jesus as a way of identifying James, which indicates that Jesus was already known to the reader from an earlier mention. Because of this, and that it is unlikely that Christians would have been able to alter the Arabic version of Josephus, most scholars now accept that Christians did not add the first passage, but altered it. These two passages provide a non-Christian witness to the fact that Jesus did at least exist, and the significant events recorded in the Gospel, the Roman crucified him during the rule of Pilate, and his disciples' report of having seen him risen 3 days later, is correct. The Jewish Talmud, compiled near the end of the 1st century and during the 2nd, also mentions Jesus. From this passage, we learn that Jesus was a religious leader who practiced what the Jews called sorcery. His followers would call them miracles. We see that Jesus had a large following, for he enticed Israel to apostasy, and his crucifixion occurred on the eve of the Passover. Other references in Jewish writings reflect on Christian teachings. For example, we can see that some Jews needed to respond to the virgin birth stories because Jewish writings sometimes referred to Jesus as Jesus, son of Pandera. Pandera was supposedly a Roman soldier. The claim was also apparently made by Celsus, a 2nd century Greek philosopher and opponent of Christianity. While his book, The True Words, is lost, we know of it from the writings of Origen and his book Contra Celsum, which quotes it extensively. While some modern critics identify him as Tiberius Julius Abdus Pantera, a Roman soldier whose tombstone was found in 1859 in Germany, Christian scholars have pointed out the similarity of this name, which means panther, to the Greek word Parthenos, virgin. They have concluded that the name chosen for Jesus' father may simply be a derogatory corruption of the Greek word for virgin. Interestingly, making Jesus' father a Roman soldier would also preclude another claim that Christ made, that he was a descendant of King David. The Roman historian Thallus, who wrote a history of the world around AD 52, seems to have included a discussion of the events concerning Jesus' death in his history. While we do not have Thallus's writings, we know of the existence of this history because other writers from that period refer to it. One of the works that mentions Thallus is by the early Christian historian Julius Africanus. While discussing the death of Jesus and the darkness that preceded it, Julius Africanus wrote that Thallus calls this darkness an eclipse of the sun, but in my opinion, he is wrong. Since Jesus' crucifixion happened during the Passover, and the Passover occurs during the full moon, we know that an eclipse could not have caused this darkness. Eclipses only occur during a new moon. The debate concerning Christ and the events surrounding his death seemed to be in progress by the middle of the 1st century. Cornelius Tacitus, one of the greatest Roman historians, also mentioned Christ in his Annals, written about AD 110. During his description of the burning of Rome, which started on July 19, 64, Tacitus wrote that rumors were spreading that Nero had set the fire himself. Tacitus wrote of Nero,
"Consequently, to get rid of the report, Nero fastened the guilt and inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations, called Christians by the populace. Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilate, and a deadly superstition, thus checked for the moment, again broke out not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but also in the city, where all things hideous and shameful from every part of the world meet and become popular."
We see that Christianity had spread only a short time after Jesus' death and had encountered significant opposition. From the writings of the early critics, we learn that there was a religious teacher named Jesus. They tell us that his birth was unusual. During his ministry, Jesus did many things that seemed miraculous. He had a large following, and the religious leaders of the time opposed him. We learned that Jesus was arrested while in Jerusalem for the Passover. He was condemned to death by the Roman governor Pontius Pilate. His death was by crucifixion. During the crucifixion, there was an unexplained darkness of the sky. Finally, his followers claimed that Jesus rose from the dead 3 days later and still lives. Admittedly, this is not proof that Jesus is the Son of God. However, this evidence is from the early critics of Christianity, not usually a rich source of supporting material. We can assume that these critics used what they thought to be the strongest arguments against Christianity. As such, they indirectly tell us what these writers did not consider a good argument. So what do you think? Do you think there is anything to learn from the earliest critics? Do you disagree? Tell us why in the comments. We do read your comments and often post replies. If you've made it this far, consider watching one of our other videos and supporting our channel on Patreon. Thank you for watching Into the Desert, exploring the wilderness of ideas. And to our fellow adventurers, a special thank you for helping to support this channel.